dating nowadays is a rich man's game. If you go, say, Latin America or parts of Asia, you're leveraging the US dollar. So now you've got greater spending potential, greater purchasing power over the average men in those countries that are abroad. So now you're doing practically the same thing that the richer guys are doing in your home country. So what's the difference? A lot of times men just want the baddies, and then a lot comes with the baddies, but then they want those women to be submissive and respectful to them. And those women, they won't. They're respectful to the dollar, to the power, to the affluence, to the clout, to the ability for you to influence other people. They are loyal to what you come with, as opposed to who you actually are as a person. So what you need to do is really find ways to level yourself up. But then it's your job to have that ability to then look between the fine lines as to what great women are. And there's plenty of great women. I think as men, we have to somewhat do better. Yo, what up? Marco Brown here, and these are my thoughts. Back at you with an honest opinion, back at you with an unbiased review. Now we're going to take a look at the Kendra G show. There's an interesting encounter between a guy named Austin and Kendra G. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire length of the show. I want to give my feedback onto this. Now, I think personally, this was a troll effort. This was an effort by Austin to troll Kendra G for the prosperity of his show. Let's put it that way, to get more clicks and all that sort of stuff. Because let's face it, Kendra G is, in terms of this relationship space, is becoming one of the biggest channels in terms of showing, male and female dynamic dating encounters. And I think she's doing a really good job of it, because not only is she bringing men and women to the table to see who will be compatible with each other, but it's also doing something very powerful, which if you are smart and intelligent enough, you'll catch it each time the show plays. And it's sometimes the primary reason why I tune in sometimes. It really highlights the disparity between men and women, and it highlights the echoes that women are asking for, and then it also echoes what the men are asking for, and from that you can actually deduce the commonalities between the two, and you can also deduce where they are vastly different. And even Kendra herself, over the years, she has really changed her opinion in terms of the male and female dynamics. Before, she was very pro, I'm a woman, I deserve this. And if you look at her earlier shows, and now she's really shaped her mindset to be, well, you have to go where the majority is, and you have to go where you're desired and celebrated. And that brings us to, this encounter between her and this guy Austin, which Austin, he is the poster child for the Passport Bros movement. And if anyone's not familiar with the Passport Bros movement, it's essentially a group of men in general, but it's been popularized by black men to essentially abandon and turn their backs on Western black women, essentially, and seek encounters or sexual relations, and even in some cases potential wife partners or lifelong partners abroad. So, and the countries they tend to focus on is Latin America for the most part, and then you have the odd few, they go to Thailand or some parts of Asia, and then with a smaller bucket, I believe, center their efforts in Africa, because a lot of the times they do those ones want a black woman. But you tend to find the majority of those men don't even seek black women per se. They're actually looking for non-black women, whether they are of Latino heritage, and I'm talking more not Afro-Latino, but more Hispanic or Portuguese type heritage or lineage. And in Thailand, obviously, is what it is. It's more Asian type women. But it's really interesting because I don't understand why he came on the show. And apart from the fact that it was purely to troll Kendra and to have Kendra pretty much exhibit what he is talking about with regards to black women, and that is they're combative, they're masculine, they're not feminine, and they're just hard to deal with. And then he goes on to say something very interesting. He says, oh, I'm not complaining about black women, I'm complaining about Western black women, right? And he's saying Western culture as on top of that. But what he has to understand is the Western culture has been shaped by both the man and the female, the man and the woman. So you can't say Western culture is responsible alone for the degenerative behavior of, say, black women, because there's also degenerative behavior from black men. There's black men walking around producing many fatherless homes, and then there's black women going around encouraging the propagation of single parent homes. So it's one and two the same. Okay, so I think this sole effort to blame black women, is futile. It's just ridiculous. There's just no point doing that, because it just steals away the responsibility for the role men actually do play in this, because it does take two. And I know there's the argument that, okay, well, end of the day, women have the final say, so therefore it's solely squared on them. These women can choose whether to have a child or to have an abortion or to get rid of the child or to have protection. But in a similar fashion, men cannot make a girl pregnant if they have protected sexual relations. So if men were protecting their assets, which is their sperm, women wouldn't be getting pregnant as well. So there's a point at which we have to, as men, accept accountability for that. By us depositing, our assets into women, right? We are now allowing another woman to take responsibility and accountability for the outcome that we probably prefer. And most of the times men don't want to get a woman pregnant, and they don't want to have children with a specific woman, especially a woman that they're just having sex with. It's not even like a woman they have for recreational use. For them, it's just like, I don't want a family with this woman. But yet they don't seek the proper precautions to prevent a woman from getting pregnant with their child. Okay, and when that happens, there's just a solid effort to just blame the woman, and that's just a sign of immense immaturity. Now, Auston here, he's purely trolling Kendra for the potential to increase his visibility on her platform. And if you follow some of the videos that he has done, he's also had problems in Latin America. He's gone to Latin America, and I think it was even in Brazil. I think he got chased out of there. He was fearing his life. He was getting death threats because it basically insinuating that they're easy women. They're easy. Okay, and that got him in a lot of trouble, and they wanted him out of the country. So it just goes to show, it doesn't matter where you go. If you're of no good, it doesn't matter if you go from Thailand to Brazil to freaking Zimbabwe, it doesn't matter. If you're the problem, you're going to show up there. Later on in the show, he does go on to say, I want black women to convince me that it's worth being in a relationship with them, or being with them, or giving them any attention. Kendra very tactfully says, we don't want to convince you, Auston. Go where you're celebrated. And that's a very important thing that Kendra stated. Kendra herself, her man of Nigerian descent, he's a Nigerian. So if he's a Nigerian, she doesn't have an African American guy. She has a Nigerian guy. So she has gone where she's more celebrated compared to tolerated, right? And she's not out here bashing black men as a whole, which is, I think, something black men really need to stop doing, because it does have a weak tendency to it, to just play victim and say black women are the problem. If you have a problem in life, either you fix it or you relocate to a much better situation, right? There's no point coming onto a platform and saying, oh, black women are the problem, they need to convince me. There's nothing of pure value in yourself that's worth convincing. There's no point, because no woman is going to win. Because the moment you find something wrong with a woman, because everybody has flaws, and because everybody has flaws, the moment you sense a flaw, you're going to always root it right back to the fact that black women in America or the Western world are the problem. So you're always going to have that bias. So what is the point? There's no point convincing you. You might as well go somewhere where you cherish the women more, whether it's in the regions of Latin America or Thailand or wherever, because he's been all over the place. I've seen some of his shows. Or within America, there is spaces there where they have those sorts of women, right? So we have to really be careful with the message we're sending, because it's not just black people, or in terms of the women and the men who watch this from a younger generation and older generation. It's other racial groups. They are watching this saying, you know, like, we're not united. So it gives them the permission to disrespect us as black people. And there's no point in that. There's zero point in that, right? Him getting on there and trying to antagonize Kendra to try and live up to what he says are bad behaviors and bad traits in black women is just pointless, right? Because he is being the antagonizer, so he must be living up. And if you see later on in the show, the exchange between those two, he says he wants black babies. He's only 24. He said he wants black babies, but not once did he mention he wants a black wife, right? He wants to create black family. So therefore, what are you doing? You're continuing the degenerative behavior of creating a trail of fatherless homes. You want a bunch of black babies, but you didn't say, I want to make a woman that's worthy my wife. He didn't say that, because that's the number one thing that should come out of your mouth if you are serious about creating families and being with black homes. You should say, look, I want to look for a black woman. That's why I want a black woman that respects a black man. So ultimately, I want a wife. And with a wife will come a family, and then we build this infrastructure of a family household and grow and build together. He didn't say that. He's 24. He's probably thinking, I just want to play the field, have fun, and then at some point leave babies around. Well, I'm not saying that's what he's going to do, but that's the implications of what he's saying if he's not careful. So why should a woman take you seriously? And it's not like someone like him, let's be honest, he probably can get women in America. The problem is, from what I remember, he wasn't earning that much money or that good. His money wasn't that great, or let's just say it wasn't good enough to demand submission from an American black woman, an African American black woman, right? So a lot of men are salty about that, and because at the end of the day, women's expectations, however delusional they may be, you know, it's just not suitable for the average guy out there. Dating nowadays is a rich man's game, okay? Which is why if you go abroad and go to, say, Latin America or parts of Asia, remember, you're leveraging the US dollar, right? So now you've got greater spending potential, greater purchasing power, greater income potential, right? Especially if you're a YouTuber and you're earning your income and you can travel all over the world, you've got the ability to have greater leverage over the average men in those countries that are abroad. So now you're doing practically the same thing that the richer guys are doing in your home country. So what's the difference? So what you need to do is really find ways to level yourself up. And I'm not saying by leveling up, women are going to just be at your beck and call, but then it's your job to have that ability to then look between the fine lines as to what great women are. And there's plenty of great women. A lot of times men just want the baddies, and then a lot comes with the baddies. The problem is men and women do it. Women want the guys that are no good for them, and they want those guys to treat them good. The men want the baddies that are no good for them, but then they want those women to be submissive and respectful to them. And those women, they won't. They're respectful to the dollar. To the dollar, to the power, to the affluence, to the clout, to the ability for you to influence other people. They are loyal to what you come with, as opposed to who you actually are as a person. So of course it's superficial. It's the world you live in, right? I think as men, we have to somewhat do better. I mean, there's clearly a problem between black men and black women, and that problem is not going to be resolved with constant bickering and clashing with each other. If you look at the other racial groups, there is a problem, but there's not a direct conflict between the men and the women of, say, Asians or white people. But even with the slight issues that they do have, you don't find the women really attacking the men on who they are per se. Especially in the Asian culture, they don't attack the men like that. And likewise, you don't get the men attacking the women. And I think you always have a few strays out there that do. But in the black culture, it doesn't matter what country you're in, to be honest, there's a collective common behavior of where the women can get up and say merciless things about the men, and then the men likewise do the same thing. And it's like it's just common practice, and you don't realize by doing that you're devaluing your own people to other people and giving them the permission to devalue you. It's just, I don't understand why it is in black culture why we do this. I've never seen myself do this, but I don't understand what is the value add of doing stuff like that. It's just pointless. It's just, there's zero effort of doing that. I don't see why he bothered doing that. He wasted his time, in my own opinion. He wasted her time. And the thing I like about Kendra is every single shot this guy threw at her, she hotboxed it. She literally dodged it and said, okay, I agree with you. If you don't like the black women, go where you want to go. We're not going to be upset. And I think that's sometimes what black men are looking for. They're looking for the women to just be crying in anguish that, listen, we're going to white women, we're going to Latino women, we're going to all sorts of Asian women, we're going to everyone but you. Now, buy a dog. Yeah, you're going to be lonely, no one's going to want you. But this is what I always will say. You have to be careful, because I don't think the men realize, right? And I don't want to come across this way, but we have to get to a point whereby we think of the realistics in life. Black men are not at the top of the economic food chain. They're not. Black people as a whole are not, but we're talking about the men. We are not at the top of the food chain. And just because we have an odd few billionaires here and there who are just scratching that number, okay, we don't compare to the non-black men out there who are billionaires, proper billionaires who control the world. We don't match to them. So what do you think is going to happen if these men in mass, right, start to look towards black women and say, we will give you a chance. We're interested. We like what we see. If they decide to go down that road, what do you think is going to happen to the men of these women who are probably bitter, who may behave in a vindictive way, or may behave in a way that says, we don't care about y'all anymore? These women are going to be promoted to higher levels. So you're going to find them in senior positions. You're going to find them in owning businesses, because they're going to be helped by their non-black men and not torn down by their non-black men. And then once they get into those positions of power, what do you think they're going to actively do? They're going to not help black men at all. And that's going to affect the next generation, because the next generation of young black women are going to see this and say, we don't ever step with black men. And on top of that, that's in every sense of the word. We don't want black babies. We don't want black husbands. We don't even want black business partners. We don't even want black people to work in the same industry as us. There'll be a straight annihilation. And I'm probably being extreme with it, but it is, mark my words, it is coming if this road does not. Because there's the one thing you have to remember, which is powerful about women sometimes, is once they have the leverage and advantage, because they are very emotional beings, they will put a full stop on anything that they want to. Just give them the power to, and they'll do it. They can, once women decide that they want to be vindictive and prove a point, there's no level of pettiness that women can go to. So it's not worth destroying your own people as a collective, just because you're trying to show women, black women in particular, that they are worthless to yourselves as black men and to other men as a whole. The other races of men have not even tried to look towards black women, right? Because for the most part, and there's data to prove this, black women, more than any other race, date their own, prefer their own. There was a survey that basically compiled data on women from a variety of racial groups. Predominantly, all of them said, or all of them displayed, that they preferred a white man. Only the black woman predominantly ticked the box of black man, right? Because their loyalty to black men is always vast. Now, forget the behavioral issues they come with sometimes, but they predominantly prefer to date and marry their own. But when they turn the tables round, most men largely preferred white women. So it goes to show which race was pretty much the dominant one. But I'm just saying, this can never end well. It can never end well, and doing stuff like this is pointless. I think we need to do better, to be honest. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you on another one. This is Marco Brown, and these are my thoughts. Peace.